Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Algorand. This is going to be a low time frame video. We have done a higher time frame video which can be found up above, so check that out if that's more what you're interested in. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so for the moment we have a couple of counts that we are following, and this is the one that I'm looking at the moment, treating this as an extension within this bigger green third wave. Now, what I'm looking for within this is that we've actually got some extensions earlier on here in this third wave where this is set up a series of 1s and 2s. Now, this will be valid for as long as we remain below this 1255 area, in which case what we could actually be looking for is a bigger break to the downside here. Looking for a fifth wave to actually come down towards this 0849 to this 0771 area. Now, there's a couple of ways of actually counting this move to the downside. So within this count, effectively this would mean that we have a series of fifth waves still to come here. So what we'd be looking for is actually price to break down, bounce up to the previous fourth wave location, break down, bounce up, break down, and then finally get a bigger retracement for this green fourth wave here. Because as we can see, this wave 2 up here is quite big, and what I'm looking for is further evidence that if this is a 5-wave move to the downside here, we're going to be looking for something substantial like this to the upside. So we need to just obviously be a little bit patient here. The internals are indicating that we could potentially look to break down in a bigger way still. So we need to just be aware of that possibility. So the other way we were talking about this was actually discussing the potential that within here, you know, there's a possibility that we could have had an extension in the fifth wave, in which case this would be 1, 2, 3 already into here, fourth and a fifth. So the key thing here for us to do is actually look for structure similar in size to this. If we do start to develop something like this, and we actually drag out a little bit and it becomes similar in time to this wave 2, then I would be looking to match this as a wave 4 here. So the difference is that this target could actually technically move up towards this 1475 area, but would still indicate that we see further continuation to the downside. Now, both of these counts are actually looking for the possibility that, you know, what we are looking for on the bigger picture here is the bigger possibility that, you know, we're looking for the C wave low here, where we're treating this whole move to the downside as an A, this is a B, and effectively looking for this as a C wave. So we've done technically enough here by taking this A wave low here. So, you know, it's possible that this could actually look to turn around if we are looking at it in this way, but the waves are currently indicating that we could still see more downside here. So the 1-to-1 is sitting here at this 0781, and then we do have some extensions lower down. Now, the reason why I'm looking for that possibility of a reversal here is, as we can see, we broke out of this channel and then we came back and we retested it. Now, it's possible that within this count, what we could actually see is price just bounce off of this for its fourth waves and continue to break down until we get that bigger fourth wave. Now, alternatively, there's another way that we could look at this move, and we could actually just say that, you know, if this is a corrective move down, what we could have is just a bigger corrective structure here, or this could actually be a B wave. You know, we don't have a lot of information here, so this could actually be A, B, and C still. So because of that fact, you know, I'm just also being mindful that this could actually be a W, an X, and a Y to the downside. Now, the interesting thing about this is we've actually met this 0.618 area here. Now, we would be looking typically for this 1-to-1, which is down here at this 0413. But really what I'm looking for is, you know, within this range here where we could look to turn around, we've crossed the 1-to-1 of this as a W, an X, and a Y. So there's a possibility we could actually see, you know, a reversal from this point. So if we are looking at this as a C wave here, where we're going to say this is A into here, this is B, then what we'd have to say is this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 if we want to argue that it's completed. But really, until we actually break this B wave high here at this 1740, the possibility is still there for that downside. Like I said, you know, primarily I'm looking for an additional leg to the downside, but we need to just be aware that we're kind of right in the zone that we could actually turn around. So if we were looking for that possibility of a break to the upside, there's a couple of ways that I'm looking at this. So I'm looking at the corrective way, and then I'm also looking at the possibility that we could actually see, you know, something more along the lines of an impulse. So looking at this as a correction, if we want to argue this is a W wave here as an A, B, and a C, then we look at this as a X wave here. What we could have is another A, B, and a C here. Now, what we'd be looking for here is effectively to come down one more time, and what I would be looking for as a typical zone that we'd be looking to retrace to would be between this 1187 to this 1156 range. and that would be looking for this effectively to become a bigger structure here. Now the thing is, if we do push down to this level, what we could actually get is a 5-wave move off the back of this, which looks to actually push up towards this zone here of this Y wave 1-to-1, which would be this 1424. Now this wouldn't really tie into the idea of that the series of fourths and fifths. However, this would actually tie into the idea of actually having a bigger corrective structure. As we can see here, the fourth wave area is this 1475 to this 1137 range. So if we did see a bigger move to the upside here, it could actually mean that we are starting to be within this green fourth wave, in which case, we're still looking for that possibility of a breakdown afterwards, which could still look to take us towards this 082 to the 0665 region. So that's looking at that possibility as a corrective structure. Now this is valid for as long as we maintain this level here of this 1134. What we would be looking for would be that possibility of continuation up. Now the reason why I wouldn't like to say this is already completed is I would like to see this 0.618 hit here at this 1280 if this is the case. Now this would actually be interesting because it would be looking to actually bring us back into these highs here, and I would be looking to see how we react from those levels. Now we do have an impulsive way of looking at this, which we're going to go over in a second, but if we are looking at that bigger correction, because like I said, we want something a bit more substantial here, what we could get is that this whole move up here could end up being an A wave, we get a B wave down, and then we still see that C wave to the upside here. So that would actually be looking to maintain this 0901, then see a bigger break to the downside, and then a push up one more time for that fourth. So that would be looking at this in a corrective way. Now we could also argue that if we are going to say that we're looking for a low here, what we could have is something along these lines where instead of having this as a wave, as an A wave into here, what we could actually have is some form of a diagonal within this pattern here. We treat this move as this for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, in which case we'd have this as 1 and 2 here now. Now the key thing here is what I'd be looking for is within this structure, what we'd want to do is actually get a bigger push to the upside where this actually becomes our wave 3, where we get a push towards the zone of the 1702. Now this would be treating this whole move here as effectively a wave 1, 2, and then saying that we have another 1, 2 here, and we're actually looking to break to the upside. Now it is also possible within this that we could still be within a corrective move. So we're going to come in here and we're going to discuss this, this red box area. So what I'm looking for here is there is the possibility that we could argue this is A, B, C here. This is A, this is B. We have a flat here for this B wave, which has taken this, this A wave origin here. Now what I'm looking out for is if we do start to break down in a 5-wave move, we could see something like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would bring us back down towards some of these lower levels here. So interesting zones would be this 1-to-1, which is sitting here towards this 1147 region. And then we also have some lower areas here, which would be this 1126, 1113, and this 1092. So these two would be particularly interesting to me, possibly coming down to this 786 here. Would be, really as deep as we want to go with this. We don't really want to break too much lower than this 1108, although we do potentially have that possibility of looking to fill this little bit of a gap that we've got here. So I would be keeping an eye on it. If we did move down towards this zone of this 1092, that could tie into that idea of that breakdown in a flat correction here, looking at this as a 1-2. Now, however, if we do hold this level here of this 1134, and we only get a 3-wave move to the downside, what we could actually see is something more along these lines. So this is looking for that possibility of this move extending out. Now, what we would then be looking for would be that this would be our wave 1, we'd be looking for a wave 2 to the downside, then a bigger 3rd wave up here to this 1360, then we'd be looking for a 4th and a 5th, looking to push us up towards this 1407 to this 1378. Now this is key because if I change over to here, what we can see is this 1389 is actually our impulsive trigger point for this white structure here. So if we did have to move up into those levels, it would actually meet all the requirements of this 1618. So this would then mean that from here, what we would actually get is an additional 4th and a 5th, and then we'd be looking for an additional 4th and a 5th to the upside. So this would actually indicate that we're going to see that bigger push to the upside, and we're actually looking for a breakout. So this count is very, very interesting to me at the moment. If we just see price actually move back down in 3 waves here, what we could have is that this becomes 1, 2, we get 3, 4, and 5. Now, like I said, we need to be cautious because there is that other possibility where we could argue that this whole move is A, B, and C, in which case we push up to that 1-to-1. But really what we want to see is a nice strong move up here past this 1702 for that confirmation that this is a diagonal here as a 1, 2, and then effectively we're looking to push up in a bigger way. What we want to see with this structure, if we are looking at this as an impulse, is as price moves up here, what we want to do is see volume also moving up. So if I turn this on, what we'd want to see is, as price is moving up like this, we want to see the volume starting to spike and actually getting, some bigger volume that is comparable to the current volume we have here. We want to see some nice big strong volume spikes playing out. They don't all have to be at once, but we want to see a general trend that the volume is actually looking to increase for more confidence that this is the count here. So we just need to be careful. There is still that bearish potential for as long as we actually fail to break out of these levels. But really, until we break above this 1475 level, I would still be on that lookout for that possibility of continuation to the downside. Looking at the daily pivot points here, what we can see is that price actually moved up to this S1 line. Now what I'm looking for is that possibility that price could come back and interact with these central lines between this 1202 and this 1177 region. If we do see price come back into here and we find support, this could actually then possibly mean that we actually look to move up and retest one of these higher lines here towards this 1275, this 1331, and this 1361 level. However, if price actually starts to break down here, what I'd be very interested in would be this 1159 level. This would actually be looking to retest some structure here, as well as that we have that possibility of looking at that as finding support here towards this 786. So I would be keeping an eye on that with Algo. If we do see a 3-wave move down here into those levels, that could actually set us up for that 3rd wave up. Obviously, it depends what structure we have here. We'd have to be cautious of that. If we did break down in a bigger way, we have the R2 line here at this 1104. We have the R3 at this 1072 and the R4 here sitting towards this 1016 area. Now flipping this over onto the weekly pivots, what we can see here is we're actually above these weekly pivots and we found support on these. We moved up and we actually hit this S1 line. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here. If we see price come back down here and we actually manage to settle above this these central lines here at this 1152, we could see price get gravitated to the upside, looking to target out this 1306 and this 1382 level. Alternatively, if we are looking at that possibility of breaking down, we have the R1 sitting at this 1074, we have the R2 sitting at this 099, and then we have the R3 sitting at this 0920 level. So this would be looking for that possibility of starting to see a break to the downside, looking for that possibility of a 5th wave. Looking at the monthly CPRs, what we can see is that price already came down to this R3 line. We came up to this R2 line, and now we've actually flipped this into support. So this is going to be quite an interesting level to keep an eye on. If we continue to hold this, we could see price actually gravitate towards this R1 line here, which is sitting at this 1345. If price does look for that potential breakout, then we could actually see a move back into these central CPR lines between this 1643 and this 1528 area. Alternatively, if we do see price push up higher, we have the S1 here at this 1720, the S2 at this 1961, and this S3 here at this 2096 level. Having a look at the Ichimoku cloud, what we can see is that we are currently battling with the top end of this cloud on the 4-hourly. If we do move back down here, I would be interested to see if we find support either on this baseline at this 1160 or this conversion line at this 1189. If we do, then there's that possibility we could see that push to the upside. Now, if we do continue to reject off of this, if we do look to push down lower, I would also be keeping an eye on the bottom of this cloud to potentially offer us support at this 1118. Alternatively, we could also just reject directly and start to break down from here. So we need to be careful of that idea. Now, on the 8-hourly, we can see we've actually just come up and kissed this. Now, if we are looking at this as a possible completion of this move, what we could see is price start to fall away, like I said. Alternatively, we do have the conversion line here sitting at this 1160 level. So that would be quite an interesting zone as it aligns with that CPR. Now, if we do see price actually find support here and move to the upside in a 5-wave structure, possibly we could look to this actually having an interaction with this 1368 level, which would be the top of this 8-hour cloud here. Now, coming over onto the daily, what we can see is we're currently fighting with the conversion line, trying to get back above this. If we do manage to get back above it and hold this, we could actually potentially look to move up to this baseline, which is sitting at this 1419 area, And then an interesting zone would be higher up here towards this area of this cloud, which I'd be keeping an eye on at this 1761. So if we do see price look to actually push back up here, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this cloud, depending on how long this actually plays out. You know, if we get a bigger fourth wave, something like this, we could actually see this interact lower down here, in which case we'd probably be looking for between this sort of 1423 and this 1456. If we did see a bigger impulsive move to the upside here, I'd be looking out first for this baseline here at this 1416, and then higher up here towards this 1749 would be our next sort of level we're looking at on the daily Ichimoku cloud. So we just use these levels as a little bit more confluence for some of the ideas that we are looking at. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description you'll find a link to the Also in the description you'll find a link to the video. Also in the description you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.